April Ferrao and John Lyman, and they're both incumbents. And congratulations, they've both been endorsed by the teachers union. So they at least think you're doing a good job. And the way we're going to do it this afternoon, I'd like to give each of you about 5 minutes to introduce yourselves and talk generally about why you're running and so on. And then we'll go to questions, and then probably later on as we approach 1 o'clock, have about a 3 minute wrap up. So with that in mind, I guess we can go alphabetically, and whether it's first name or last name, I believe April's going to be first.
Yep, that's right. I'm April Ferrao, and for those who don't know me, I've lived here since 2000. My husband and I moved here from the Chicago suburbs, where we both worked for Allstate Insurance at their corporate headquarters. And we had two children. One graduated in 2021 from Hickman High School. The second one graduated in 2023, also from Hickman High School. But for all the time that they were in Columbia Public Schools, I was heavily involved all the way from Ridgeway to West to Hickman. So I've spent a lot of time with our students, our parents, and our staff to really see what I call is boots on the ground, what their actual experiences are from the district will, implement a policy or they'll implement a change. And how is that being practically implemented in our schools? And so when one of my focuses has been to make sure that we are including decisions based on parent input, student input, staff input, asking them, we're thinking about making this change. How is that going to practically impact your day to day in the classroom and in your working environment? I spent 3 years in leadership as the Hickman PTA president and vice president. I was attending board meetings and watching them for 10 years prior to me even running for my seat on the board, and spending a considerable amount of time making sure that I was reading a lot of things on the agenda and having the opportunity, whether I did it in a public forum, such as giving public feedback, public comment at board meetings, but frequently would reach out to board members or district leadership on feedback on something that might be on the agenda. In 2021, 22, our PTA started meeting on a regular basis with board members on a monthly basis and with the district leadership on a monthly basis to provide input and feedback on what kinds of things were impacting our buildings. And when my youngest graduated in 2023, my options were to uh, continue helping with PTA at Hickman, despite not having any students there, or move on to board work where I could have a better chance to implement some improvements within the district. One of my big focuses since joining the board has been to improve our policies. Prior to joining the board, we had 43 policies that were more than 20 years old and a considerable number that were more than 10 years old. In the 2 years prior to me joining board, the board had reviewed 48 policies. Since I joined the board and the policy committee in September of 23, we have looked at 214 policies. I would love to stay on the board to be able to finish the almost 100 policies that still need to be reviewed and perhaps revised. And during those times that we're revising them, we actively seek out input from our teachers and our parents and have implemented changes to those policies based on their feedback. Um, so I don't know if that's 5 minutes. Seems like a long time, but we'll go, I'll let John introduce himself. I want to stay on the board because I absolutely love what I do.
Thank you, April. John, your 5 minutes begin right now.
All right. Good afternoon. I think it is afternoon, almost. Yeah. So, John Lyman, Columbia Public Schools. We moved here in 1986 when my dad got a job at the university. I went to Grant Elementary School for a year, and then we moved. Went to Russell West Junior High School, and then I graduated from Rockbridge High School. Um, Mizzou was the only school that I even got close to considering going to. I graduated with a degree in geography, with a minor in history from there. And kind of since then, I've worked at Veterans United Home Loans. I'm still there, one of the early adopters, I guess, of the Veterans United thing. So yeah, 20 plus years working here. So elected to the board first in April 2023, mostly because, well, a variety of reasons. I thought about doing it for a really long time, and finally, I did what you're supposed to do. And I listened to my wife, who said, "Would you just do it already?" And so I did, and here we are. Uh, she's been a teacher in the district for 20 years, an elementary school teacher in the district. She's been an athletic coach for Hickman High School for the last 20 years. We've got three kids, a sixth grader, a freshman, and then what will be amazing to me, a senior, who's graduating from Hickman this year. That's just wild to think about that I have a senior in high school. So all three, in the district, all three love, their time, on the board. Let's see. I started out on the finance committee and the long range planning and facilities committee, kind of learning, lots of different things there. Last year, I was the board vice president, and this year, I'm actually the board president. So I'm the one in the middle, of the dais, kind of running the meeting and all that, putting the agenda together, working with the board and the administration on what we'd like to hear about, and all that. Literally right before this meeting, I was on a call with our board administrator, Noel McDonald, adding something. April, I'll send you an email to the work session,
Awesome.
next Thursday. Um, uh, I love this work. It's a tremendous amount of fun. It's a lot like being in school, where there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of talking to folks. Um, I, I do a lot outside of that as well. The Missouri School Boards Association has some different certifications that you can get. I've achieved both the advanced and master level certifications, working on the distinguished one. There's a few extra things that you need to do there. It's visiting uh, other school districts, watching their meetings. It's reading. It's meeting with legislators and doing all sorts of things like that to become as well rounded as possible. So, um, one of the big things that I think both April and I and Paul have pressed while our time has been on the board is just being as transparent as possible, removing some of that Wizard of Oz, man behind the curtain thing that exists with the school board. Things kind of always happen, and you never really know how or why they happened. And so, removing a lot of that, being out in the open, adding meetings, our listening sessions, extending out how long we're going to talk about redistricting and things like that, so that the community knows what's going on. We do represent the community, and we want to make sure that we're hearing all of those voices. So this is, I said it 3 years ago, I continue to say it. This is a group project that everybody has to have a say in and be involved in for it to be successful. Um, I love this work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of fun. It's meeting cool people. It's doing neat stuff with our kids. So yeah, look forward to the questions and answers today.
Okay, who's got a question? Kathy has a question. Go ahead, Kathy.
Thank you. My question is about the recently passed, and I'm not sure whether it would be called a policy or a resolution, but it has to do with educating parents and asking them to be aware of gun safety and of the need for secure gun storage. Could you maybe have April address how that came to be on the board, how that all um, what was kind of involved in that, and then maybe John could address the implementation of that.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I was glad that we finally got to where we got in September of, I believe it was 2023. We received a presentation on, safety And the district at that time committed to producing a PSA related to gun safety. And unfortunately, I don't know what happened, despite repeated requests from the board on updates on that. We were not getting those. Finally, in March of this past year, in March of 2025, the board started talking about passing a resolution and proceeding with a PSA on that. And the importance of that is just more education. Last year, my son had his car broken into in our neighborhood, and come to find out, he actually knew the kid who did it, and that kid was also able to get several guns from people's cars in our neighborhood. And then he turns around and sells them to other people in the neighborhood or in town. And it's one way to help keep our guns locked up, keep them safe, keep them from getting in the hands of kids who accidentally, have them go off and shoot their friend. And it's just really about educating people on safety. It's just like educating people on the ramifications of drunk driving. That's the way I see it. And I think there's no problem with the school district just promoting better safety education.
Okay.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, so this was one of those things where it was kind of always around, and finally the board was like, "Hey, you know what? We're going to do it." And so that's exactly what we did, and we put it together. Where we worked with some folks in the community, had lots of great examples to use. This is not something that is unique to Columbia Public Schools or Columbia districts across the country are using these resolutions to put the information out there. For implementation, it's just that it's education. We are working with our communications department on finding effectively a media partner to put something together. We can, of course, use our resources to film a PSA, but then there's really no, it's going to get shown on TV, but it's going to get shown at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So we're working with some of our media outlets in town to say, hey, what can we do to get this thing on during the 5 o'clock news, during the 6 o'clock news, in the mornings and things like that, so that viewership, will be there. Right now it's slated to be, me and Chief Schluty kind of just saying, hey, if you own them, that's fine. Just lock them up. If you don't have a gun lock, the CPD actually has some for free. Just come on down and we will give you one. So this isn't something that is going to be cost prohibitive to folks. It's just, we're about safety. I have a family member who passed away from an accident with a firearm. It's just, if we can help one family prevent one tragedy, all of the political stuff that comes with talking about guns and gun safety is worth it.
Thank you. And can I just add my thanks to the board, to both of you and to the full board for doing this. I think as you say, I'm sure it will save lives, and I think it's really important.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next question from Herb.
Thank you both for serving on the board. It's a lot of work. And thank you for continuing to offer your service. Now, with all that experience behind you of a term and getting on top of things, do each of you have a specific limitation of Columbia Schools' accomplishment, knowing that we're pretty good compared to those around us, but nationally we have some limitations? Is there for each of you a particular issue in which you would be willing to take your experience and demonstrate leadership?
I'll go first, since April went first last time. The easy answer is, the achievement gap, for a lot of our students. The state of Missouri does kind of identify, certain groups that we want to make sure we're not leaving behind our students of color, our Black students, our Hispanic students, our students with IEPs and 504s and free and reduced lunch, et cetera. And so, making sure that we're not leaving them behind. At our board meeting on Monday, Erica Dixon, one of our board members, gave a really impassioned sort of statement about, we've talked about this for a really long time. It's time for some action. I don't know what that action is going to be. I've been running a lot of math actually in my head today about, okay, well, our students are in our schools for 7 hours a day. Let's assume they sleep 8 hours a night. There's a lot of time. Let's say they eat it takes them an hour to eat all of their meals. There's a lot of time that they're not with us. What can we do in our community to talk to families about how they can help their child's educational experience in those times that they're not in our buildings? Limiting that screen time. Let's read a book as a family. Let's go to the grocery stores. What are those different things that we can do? And just, it's simple stuff, for families to do at home. That's something that I've started to really think a lot about since, especially Monday with Erica saying what she said. So we're leaving a lot of those students behind, and it's terrible to see. And yeah, we've talked a lot about it. And, was it Elvis that says, little less, conversation, a lot more action. That's what we're needing. So.
So to John's point about Erica's comment and talking about it urgently needed, we've spent 3 years on the board, and for 2.5 years of those, I feel like, and for many years prior to that, that I spent a lot of time beating my head against a wall on things that I could see. Why do we keep doing things just because we've always done them that way if they're not working? And I don't know that we have any limitations now that we have Dr. Klein in place. He is full steam ahead on making sure the community is involved with conversations, which is something that, we pushed when we did the boundary change. We pushed when we created the special education task force, and that took me a year of trying to get put together before we were able to get it together. And now we have a superintendent that we're able to work very closely together. It doesn't, it takes 7 of us to do something. And I can have a conversation with him. We have one-on-ones. He and I have one-on-ones twice a month. And I can have a conversation with him and have an idea. And, if the other 5 don't think it's a good idea, it takes 7 of us with a consensus or 4 of us to agree to it to give him a directive to do something. And the idea is we don't have to get to that point because we want to collaborate and get to the point that helps all of our students and address things, not because, and change things. Don't do I mean, if we're doing something and it's working, let's keep doing it. But if it's not working, we need to find something new. And I'm really encouraged by the fact that we're starting our strategic plan and our CSIP actually, I believe, a year earlier than what would be normal. And that's going to involve a lot of focus groups, a lot of community outreach. And that plan is going to be driven by what the community feels is important. We also likewise have the thing with the 10-year master plan, where we will be incorporating a lot of feedback from the community. And the 10-year master plan really has to do with what do our facilities, what do our buildings need? Because we have a lot of buildings that have deferred maintenance. So we're going to be moving forward with that. So I feel like I have more hope for CPS and the direction that it's moving than I have had in 20 years. So I think if we have enough perseverance, we don't have any limitations.
Thank you. Scott?
I was overwhelmed when Mrs. Ferrao said that there were 100 policies they had yet to go through. And she'd been through over 100. I think I heard 240 total policies. I am shocked and astounded. I think that's enough problem to stymie and halt any organization, even a bureaucracy like a school. I
Mhm.
would look forward to the day when I could have some of my teacher friends say, I had fun today because I got to teach and wasn't overwhelmed with the bureaucracy and these
Mhm.
onerous requirements which just mess up my day and absolutely aren't necessary. It
Hmm.
seems like the first thing I would do if I were on that board is go through and eliminate at least 80% of those. Delegate the issues that are involved in those to your administrators who you hire to run the schools.
Oh, your sound cut out.
There you go.
Yeah.
You sound like banking regulators. And I can't imagine how you can run a school board with that type of bureaucracy. Has any attention been given by the school board to simplify and make it easier on the teachers to teach and get rid of all that crap?
So when we look at policies, we have rescinded a few because they're duplicate in nature or they're simply not needed. One of the three main functions of a school board is to implement policies. And it is up to the administration to figure out, or sorry, write policies. It's up to the administration to figure out how to implement policies. Some of those policies are one of the policies that had not been followed for years is the board's responsibility to review curriculum, not curriculum, programs. And there are 18 programs that, as a board, we are required to review. That has not been done that I can recall in all the time that I have been involved in school board meetings. And so we implemented that so the board can be educated on that. Some of those policies just are employee policies that relate to state and federal laws that we have to put in place. We've also looked at policies with teacher involvement. A lot of times, part of the problem with the policies are a teacher wants to know what is it that I'm supposed to do? What am I supposed to be following? But the policy hasn't been updated since 1997. So I don't even know where to start. As far as, I mean, you're right. There's things that need to be taken off the teacher's plate. And I think we're looking at that's administration's job to look at how we didn't have much curriculum 3 years ago. Dr. Klein has been working with our curriculum, our new curriculum coordinator, our new chief academic officer to streamline and give teachers better resources. And within that, better autonomy on how to meet those standards or how to implement that curriculum because they're the professionals um, in our business. You know, we need to give them the respect and confidence that they know what they're doing. That's why we hired them. So let them do
That's
their
it.
jobs.
That's it.
Yeah.
Throw those books away. Say, principal, it's your job. You reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's what you're supposed to
Hmm.
teach. And you figure it out.
Yep.
Thank you, Scott. Sometimes I wish you'd really tell us what you're really thinking, but don't have to hold back.
I think
Um,
that's good.
You don't want me for superintendent or school. And who you say 18 policies you have to review. Who's telling you you have to do that?
We actually have a board policy that states that the board will regularly, on a regular basis, it doesn't indicate how often that needs to be done on a regular basis, review board policy. Um, and
Okay,
so
you
we've
said the
been working on
board.
that.
You're the board. Why don't you
Yeah,
just
we could,
scratch that requirement? Just
right,
say we're the board. We're
right.
going to decide today what we're going to do, and there's no requirement we have to do anything ever unless we four of us say so. And you get
That
four of you
you
who are in step and just set the rules and make the principals run the schools and say you get those students educated, you get them wanting to come to school, and you get the teachers happy to teach.
Well, don't we need to
You
have
run it.
policies to protect teachers' rights? You know, we need a policy on how much you can work or how we can treat you. We need a grievance policy, which we're working on right now, so that if there is a problem that they've got, in their building, they have a way to come and say, listen, this is being done to me. This isn't the right way. I need help. So a lot of the,
That's what a
we've got to,
principal's supposed to tend to. Let the
we
principal
need
handle that stuff.
consistency with 19,000 students and 3,000 if they're employees, if they're all handling things in different ways, like discrimination, like the grievances, like sexual harassment. If they're all handling them in different ways, we might as well have 32 different school districts.
Well, that's just fine. Have them all, each of them. The best ones are the ones the teachers are think the best. Those are the best principals, and let those people show they're on the job. They don't want to need a whole bunch of damn bureaucracy telling them what to
Hmm.
do.
Hmm.
I think you're going the wrong way, guys. I think you're creating a mess for yourselves. You're the school board. If something needs to be run, you do it. If you got a problem, tell the principal to solve it. If he can't
Well,
solve
we're
it,
not in charge of the principal.
that's what you got a superintendent for. You
Yeah.
say if the principals can't get it done, you get it done. And if you
Hmm.
can't get it done, we'll get somebody that can. You're the
Hmm.
school board. You ought to
Hmm.
be going through 240 damn policies. I mean, how can 7 people agree on 240 different policies every sentence? You can't do it. You sound like the federal government, and look at the mess it's in.
Yep.
So simplify this thing, guys. Don't take that. You're the school board. And tell that
Let's
superintendent to
let
run
me
his damn
interrupt here,
school.
Scott. We have other questions.
I'm
We have other
sorry. I
questions.
apologize.
Thank you. Thank you. Alice, got a question.
Hey, I want to thank both of you for your work on the board. It was a tough campaign first time around. I got to know you, and I'm so proud of your work. Um, two questions. Um, could you update us? And again, I'm proud that the school district did this on the court suit on the charter policy, that really unfair policy that our district did not deserve. And secondly, you talked about a 10-year plan. Does that include putting some solar on your schools? John was on the infrastructure committee. It would be a great role model. Of course, it might be illegal in the near future, so maybe you've lost your chance. I'll end there. Thank you for your work.
Uh, John can actually probably give a better update on the lawsuit since he's in leadership. There's times that he has information that the rest of us don't have immediately. As far as the 10-year plan, yes, a lot of the 10-year plan will be driven by our community feedback, but I know I've already talked to Lizelle about solar panels. It's something that John Paul and I brought up in our first year, unfortunately, about, is there a way to do this on Eagle Bluffs that we're building? And of course, that ball was already rolling down the hill, and we were in our first month, so we couldn't get anything to get traction there. But I know Lizelle's already looking at some different options for solar panels, better energy efficiency in our buildings. And the 10-year master plan will kind of lay out how we can do things, when we can do them, and what the payoff's going to be. Sometimes the cost is expensive up front, but it's better in the long run.
Yeah,
John, you want to talk about the lawsuit?
sure. With the solar stuff too. I mean, I know we talk a lot about putting them on the roofs,
Mm-hmm.
but if you, I mean, again, geography degree, I like looking at Google Maps all the time, and you look at some of our schools and the square footage of real estate that we have that are parking lots. We could certainly look at covering some of those parking lots with solar panels. I think most of the time, a lot of folks get just scared on that upfront cost and starting to do the math and all of that sort of stuff with, how much is it going to cost to install these things and then maintain them? When is the break even point, et cetera. But they're always, I think anytime a new building, a new wing, or anything gets talked about, it's is it possible to potentially do some solar stuff, or really any energy efficient and eco-friendly sort of things. For the lawsuit, it's still kind of going on. We can't really, dive too deeply into the details and stuff on it. It was something that we really, kind of watched for a long time. As soon as Senate Bill 727 was passed, it was like, okay, what are our options? And it's not about trying to prevent anybody from doing anything. It's more about, there is a lot of, if Boone County and residents of Boone County were not given the opportunity to vote on a charter school or anything coming in. We were told you have to, you're getting this now from the state. Removing that power from from us, from us as taxpayers, that's one of the big things that we're fighting. I was talking with Stephen Weber the other day, and he just keeps jumping up and down. This is taxation without representation. This is our tax money that's going to be going to private industry, and we can't have that. So it's something that we are always watching. We get updates regularly in closed session from Michelle Baumstark, and Suzette Waters is kind of our advocacy gal. She just thrives on this stuff. And so she was in Jeff City earlier this week, meeting with legislators, talking about things. We're always talking to those folks. We're trying to make sure that they understand where we're coming from. And right now, the lawsuit's kind of just in a holding pattern while some different things work out. So,
does that mean that you can't proceed on a charter request because of the lawsuit? Does that put a hold on it in any way?
Well, Frontier had their application. They put their application in, and then they withdrew that application. So actually, right now, there is not an active application for a charter school in Boone County, which is kind of why we're just letting things lie, for a moment. We haven't withdrawn, the lawsuit. We're kind of waiting to see what they've said. And I want to say that they said that by the end of March is when they said that they would refile their application. I think a lot of the reason that they pulled their application was because Columbia Public Schools outlined all of the problems in their application. And they went, oh, yeah, whoops, withdrew. And I'm going to bet that their new application is going to be a lot cleaner than that first one. But hey, at the end of the day, I guess we're in public education. And if we have to educate people how to do things the right way, that's what we do.
David.
Yes. This is going great, and I don't want to interrupt it, but I forgot to do something at the beginning, and that is to ask if we have representation from the media here. If so, we welcome you, and we'd love you to identify yourselves so we can look for your reports. So anybody here from the media? And the other thing that we want to do is to recognize candidates for public office. Obviously, we have two of them, our presenters today, but the third one I happen to know is Becky Brewer, who was here with us for a while. I hope she'll come back.
She's still there.
She's still there. Good. Okay, I see her now. She's running for state rep in the 44th district. I think some of people in the 44th district go to Columbia Public Schools. She herself is in Hawesville, and we've got her campaign opening on our calendar, which will be on Sunday. So welcome to all candidates running and to the media. But we have Maddie, who is here from the Missourian. Thank you, Maddie, for being here, and let us know what we can do. Our video will go up within an hour or two after here if you want to use that later. Now, I have two good questions in the chat that I'm going to try to ask. One of them comes from Kristen Bowen, and she says she would like to hear both April and John speak to how to improve communication between families and the district so that people are better informed, better connected, and better supported by CPS. And she says, as a fellow former PTA volunteer, it was always extraordinarily challenging to engage with busy parents and students beyond the same people who are always involved. So somebody who knows what she's talking about here, trying to do the things that you have mentioned. She'd like to hear more about that.
Kristen and I actually served on the PTA together, and when I got on the PTA at Hickman, one of my big things was we've got to have a better way to get communication out to parents and get more parents involved. And so that led me to create our PTA Facebook page as well as our website. I had also done the same thing for Ridgeway and West when I was there. And for years, if you have tried to navigate the CPS website, 90% of the time when I put something in the search bar, I have to email somebody and say, I can't find this where, because it doesn't pop up. We're working on the chat bot, which I'm not a big fan of AI. We'll see how that goes and how helpful that is. We've also got a recent hurdle with making sure everything's ADA compliant on our website. But for a long time, I've talked about we've got to be able to reach people where they're at and where they're getting information, whether that's in the newspaper, whether that's on the TV, and if it's on social media, we've got to go where people are on social media. And while I know John uses X, I have never been a user of Twitter, and my recent unscientific poll showed that that was the lowest used social media beyond Snapchat. Facebook is the number one. And so I'm so excited. You know, back in October, Dr. Klein had been here just for a few months, and we were just having a conversation at the MSBA conference, and we were talking about the need to have these different avenues. We need to be able to put meetings on YouTube so that they can go back further than what we've got available on the website. We need to be able to showcase maybe games on YouTube, or maybe some great activity or project that's happening in a classroom. We also need to be able to get information out, not just about snow days, right? Get information out about enrollment, get information out about it's time to make sure you're enrolled for the bus. This sending things out one time and saying, hey, your deadline's August 8th, and then expecting everyone to remember that, you've got to hit people multiple times. And so when we were talking in October about this need, he asked the three of us that were there, you know, would we be supportive of an additional position to kind of help get that messaging out? And we're like, absolutely, please, 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 please. And so now we're moving forward with that. I'm so thankful. And you know, a lot of districts have this avenue to get messaging out, and we've got to be sure that we're also using text messaging. A lot of people are going to text messaging now. So if your lunch account is down, you need to get a text message. If there's a deadline to enroll in something, you need to get a text message. In addition to emails, we've got to have multiple avenues. And so, Kristen, you know, I know how important that is. And I'm pushing to make sure that we're able to reach people in all different ways.
John?
Yeah, I think April summed it up, you know, nicely. Our communication team is great, but they're small.
Very small.
Springfield Public Schools they're slightly larger than us. They have 8 people on their communication team. We have 3 or 4. And so while our team does a really, really good job, they are spread very, very thin. So much like the gun safety resolution that took some time to kind of get rolling, this having a social media presence was something that has been talked about for a long, long time. And finally now is in a position, we're at a place where we can get it rolling. No, I don't want to say no one reads emails, you know, but emails, you get them and then you kind of go, okay, and then you forget about it. Everybody right now is not looking, they're looking at their iPad or their computer, but they're all thinking about what's going on Facebook right now. And so just having that page, I mean, the number of people that tell me that they get information about the school district from my CPS Facebook page that I just have myself is like, that's not okay. We need to do more. We need to get outside of that. We need to start doing things that we haven't done before. Earlier this year, we had a snow day, there was a thought that, hey, it might snow. We did it. Our communications team did a thing that they've never done before, which is send a text out saying, "Yes, there is school tomorrow." We've never done that. The number of people who came to me and said, "Thank you for saying yes, we have school tomorrow," because they didn't know. Do I need to figure something out with childcare or with work or whatever? And so, starting those things, getting out of that rut of, well, we've never done that. It's time to start doing that. And I think this board and this superintendent has done really well in impressing upon our administration that, hey, it's time to start doing these things. It's 2026. It's time to get with the times.
Yeah. I have a question. I guess last week there was an article in the Missourian about a state legislative initiative to prohibit certain topics from being talked about in class, not even introduced by teachers, but even if it was discussed in class and not cut off, that there was a severe penalty involving teachers, school districts, school board members, all of that stuff. Where do you have any idea where that is going, and how do you respond to that? And you want to start, John?
Is this the one? Well, I saw the one that was about if a student talks to a teacher or an employee about gender transition, that teacher, that employee has 24 hours to tell their principal. The principal then has 72 hours to inform the families, and if they don't, they're at risk of losing their licensure.
Right. That was one of the two articles, actually. Yeah.
And that's terrifying. Our teachers do a lot of stuff. They're there to teach, but they're also, they're counselors. They're going to talk to those kids. They're sometimes they feed those kids in the morning and that sort of stuff when they come in, or if they forget their lunch. And so to add another layer of bureaucracy on there, like Mr. Orr was talking about, where now teachers are fearful of conversations that they may have with the student, because it's like, okay, now do I have to go tell my boss that I had this conversation with the student that they may have only had with me because of the comfort level they have with me? And it's just, it gets scary. I was actually talking to my wife about this at dinner the other night. Again, she's a school teacher, and she just goes, oh, everybody's going to lose their license because teachers they're going to follow the law, but they're going to protect kids, and so when we start getting into layers of that sort of stuff, where, hey, if you're a teacher, if you don't do this, you will lose your licensure. That gets scary.
April?
Yeah, I agree. And my understanding too is the bill is written in such a vague manner that, it would be impossible, at any point for a teacher to try and, like John said, stop and say, okay, these words were used, so I need to be sure to go report this. And it's just a barrier to us being able to have teachers in the classroom. That's what they're there to teach: math and reading, like Scott said. They're not there, teaching some underground theory or, some of these things. It's just not, to my knowledge, happening. There's not classes being held on how to transition, or if you should transition, or any number of topics. And our kids sometimes do need safe spaces. Maybe they need spaces to navigate, how do I approach this conversation with my parents, right? There's a lot of mental health needs in our kids, and we're starting to provide more mental health supports in our buildings. So when a student goes with a mental health support need for this because they're struggling or having anxiety over this topic, now they have to worry about how's that going to be conveyed when I don't have the opportunity yet to convey that. So I definitely oppose that legislation that's moving through.
Let me ask a related question. To what degree do teachers have autonomy now in terms of what to teach and how to teach? Are there things they can't talk about? I mean, from the Columbia School District, from the district as a whole, are there things they have to talk about? I just, what does it feel like to be a teacher in terms of how you determine what to teach and how to teach it?
They have so, I mean, one of the things is we have to meet the state standards. And so they have a lot of autonomy in how do they reach that state standard. So I always use math as the perfect example. How do they teach addition? Um, how they teach that. The standard is you have to be able to add, you know, one digit numbers by the end or two digit numbers by the end of third grade or whatever it is. How they teach that is different. Where they have the restrictions is if they are teaching a course and they want to teach it from the lens of a specific religion, right? I would think, from a history class or a social studies class, if they want to teach and only mention and teach it from the lens of a specific religion, they would be restricted in doing that. They would need to bring in a variety, more like we do have like a world religion class. That's a great place to explore all those different things. But trying to teach history from the lens of maybe this is the only way to interpret this history or to move forward on something from the lens of this one specific religion, that would be something we would probably we do have a policy against. Um, but they have a lot of autonomy as far as how to reach the standards of any of our subjects.
John?
Yeah. If a teacher's going to teach about, the Louisiana Purchase, they're going to teach it. They probably have some way that they've developed over the years to teach that with math or with anything else. It is amazing. My wife did go to a conference several years ago, a man named Greg Tang. It was all about how to teach math differently, and she loved it. And I'm like, it's math. What are we talking about? It's the dad from The Incredibles. Math is math. But there's lots of different ways to teach it. We want teachers to figure out the best way to teach whatever that subject is to that student that's sitting across the table from them. Kids are going to learn differently. Some are going to learn it on an iPad. Some are going to learn it with flashcards or memory cards. We got to figure out where those kids are, and teachers are going to meet them there. They're the professionals. They're going to know how best to get that subject matter across to them. So,
David Mallory?
Thank you. I have, getting back to the communications issue, I have a very specific request for y'all just to put in your ear so you can pass it on to whoever it needs to be. When our son was in high school over at Rockbridge, we loved to go to theatrical productions. He was often in them, small part. He was never the lead guy, but we were surprised even at high school level how good they were and how full and complex. And we wanted to continue going to those. After he graduated, though, we stopped getting notices. We look on the website for calendar. In the calendar, there's nothing about any school's productions or recitals and that kinds of thing. Is there? We don't think there's even a sign up list. Let me sign up for this year, so we're on the distribution list. So just something. I don't know how's the best way to handle that, but want to pass it on so you think about it.
Excellent idea. I mean, let's keep April on here longer so that I can email Dr. Klein and be like, I just got a really good idea. Our career center has a sign up list. I got an email last week about the early Mardi Gras sale for all of the food and stuff that they're making. I get those every week or every other week. It certainly seems pretty reasonable to have one that goes out from our fine arts department about the different productions and things that are happening in our high schools. Because I went to Mamma Mia at Hickman. It's probably the 40th time I've seen that show, but it was fantastic. It was great, and we need to keep going to those.
They're actually, David, they're actually years ago before they changed several iterations of things. I actually was signed up to get alerts on different things from a variety of the schools, not just my child's school, but you're correct. You can't do that. And also the individual schools are responsible for, they send out daily newsletters, which is probably what you were part of what you were getting. But once you're not with that school anymore and your kids have graduated, then maybe you can think about going to that school's website, but that's also inconsistent as to whether or not it's been uploaded. Some of that has to do with the workload on the people in the building and making sure that information is available. And that will be a great thing about the social media, is that we can highlight. One of the things I did on our Facebook for Hickman is we see so often that it's the football team that is in the paper. And I tried to make sure that not only were we recognizing our student athletes, but we were recognizing the great work of the national champion debate teams and the band and the theater productions and things like that. And that will be a great thing with increasing staffing in our communications department. We'll just have more bandwidth to be able to do that promotion, because we've got a lot of great things going on that our community might be interested in, but they don't know anything about. And they need to be able to find it and be able to get the information.
Well,
So
I've already
yeah,
learned,
I'm
I've already learned
100%
something.
with you.
I didn't realize each school had its own website. I used to always go to CPS. So I could maybe go to Rockbridge High School, since they're just about a mile from it. We can walk to those things, go to the school, find their website, and maybe they've got something on their individual website. So thank you for
Right.
that.
And some are better at updating it than others. But if you go to the CPS website, there is a drop down for our schools, and then there will be a link for each individual school. And usually you will see something on their website. They'll have a calendar, or you'll see something on their website, someplace in one of their menus that'll say daily announcements or newsletter or something of that nature.
Thank you. We're just about out of time. Herb, you have a really quick question? You're muted.
A quick question, but not an easy one. Artificial intelligence, particularly large language models, are galloping through the society in accessibility and utility, including to young people. What mechanism has been established by the school board to help teachers and administrators keep up with the almost monthly changes of what students may come up with, or others for them, which would frustrate normal means of teaching?
April?
So for the last year, the Dr. Klein, before he was the superintendent, was working on a group of educators solely related to artificial intelligence, appropriate uses of it, how to keep up on the different changes of it. And then they put together, and I'm sorry, I don't know the details of it, but they put together procedures, guidance, education to our staff on the different things that are constantly changing, because AI is, I mean, it changes so rapidly, and you want to make sure that it can be a good resource for kids to get information, but it should not be a resource for them. It's not necessarily a learning resource. They still need to be able to critically think. They still need to be able to well articulate when they're writing a report. And so teachers need to also be aware of what's out there so that they can check, did my student play, back in the day, it was about plagiarism. Did they get this all from artificial intelligence, or did they get some information and they were able to process it, provide some critical thinking, and present the material. And so I know that the district has education in place for our teachers, and I believe they're also doing some education in our advisory classes related to digital use of AI. John, do you know of anything else?
I feel like every now and then, well, I know that some of our teachers utilize it when it comes to plagiarism checks, because my daughter got hit up once where they were like, her teacher was like, there's a 65% chance this paper was written with AI. And it was a big meltdown night in my house, but we got it all straightened out or whatever. And, she forgot to add her bibliography. And that's going to be a big big hint to a teacher that maybe you didn't write that. But AI is a cool tool. We use it here at Veterans United all the time for lots of things, but it is just that. It's a tool. One of my first jobs was at the Westlake Ace Hardware on Worley. One of the big things that we did there was making sure people got the tool that they needed for the job that they were doing. You don't need to sell somebody a riding lawnmower if they got a little tiny yard. AI is a good tool. Kids still need to know how to read and write and do long division. They need to know how to do those things. And so I think with limitations, AI can be helpful. But at the end of the day, you're not always going to be able to rely on that. So having the creative thinking to be able to get around the world without that in your back pocket is going to be crucial. But yeah, but to your point, it's changing every day. So it's a constant battle to figure out. Every day I feel like I hear about a new AI bot or thing, whatever they're called. And I'm like, I thought there was just one. I thought it was just Chat GPT. I didn't know there were 4,500 other ones that are out there. So it's tough. It places another level of it's another thing that our administration and our academic team have got to be watch out for.
Thank you. Okay, we are about out of time. So if you could each take about 3 minutes to tell us why we should vote for you, and start with John.
3 minutes. I mean, some of these we get like 90 seconds, and it's like hard to like burn through in 90 seconds. I love this work. It's a tremendous amount of fun. There's a lot of times where it does appear that the seven of us are, in lockstep with whatever the idea is, but trust that it's like, the hours and hours of phone calls and text messages and emails about whatever it is. It's invigorating, to me to go through this work, with these people. And then who we're doing it for is awesome. Yes, my wife is the teacher. Yes, I get put out there a lot as to I only care about teachers or students. I'm also doing this as a taxpayer like everybody else. I want to make sure that our money is used for the right things. There are absolutely things that we pull and say no to because, the money shouldn't go there. It's pulling that, Wizard of Oz. It's pulling the curtain. It's making it transparent. I had one friend who was growing up his dad was on the school board here, Steve Calloway, for a handful of years. And it was like, who knew what they did? I want to continue pulling that curtain back. I want to continue meeting with folks where they're at in the community, talking about the good things that are happening in the district, talking about the things that they think we need to improve on, and working on those items. It has been a tremendous honor serving on the board over the last 3 years. I hope to continue doing it. We are on a trajectory that is awesome. April on our policy team, amazing work, long range planning and things. We got 10 years we got to plan out next. We got advocacy work to continue doing to support Columbia Public Schools in our community. It's awesome. I love this work.
Thank you. April?
Ditto that I love this work. It is what I know. It's what I've done for over 20 years. And I can't imagine doing anything else. We do have the 10-year master plan coming up. I chair the long range planning committee. And I kind of echo one of the things that John said. One of the great things about being on this board is that everyone kind of has their own special area, and we recognize and respect each other's area of expertise and kind of rely on that. So no one of us needs to be an expert in all the things, right? And so we have a level of respect for one another, and at times can vehemently disagree with one another, but still recognize that everyone's input is very important. And it's wonderful to be part of such a group that's goal is to really serve our students. And I want to continue doing that work. I love advocating for parents, for teachers. I get phone calls at least twice a week, or contact at least twice a week from either teachers or parents, just asking how to navigate something, not because they can't, not necessarily because they can't get the answers from the district. They just need help on what direction to go. And I love being able to be that resource for them. And I love being able to hear their ideas as well, especially as it relates to policy, because they see things that we might not see or that administration might not see. And so I would just love to continue this work. I love doing it. It's what I know, and it's what I do.
Thank you very much, April and John. April Ferrao, John Lyman. Election day is Tuesday, April 7th. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you very
for
much
your
for having us.
service, and thank you for listening to us.
My
Thank you.
thanks. My thanks too. We had to leave a couple good questions by Kathy Jensen in the chat, but April managed to get some answers in there. So I invite you all to read that with really informative guests like this. It's no wonder we ran out of time. And